if you're in a country like England, for instance, most people are not belligerent. I mean, they might get drunk at the pub and become belligerent. But generally, when you're dealing with people, they're not belligerent. And if you have altercations, they'll solve them in ways that aren't violent. It doesn't mean there aren't violent people amongst them. There are. But the society's norm is not violence. The society's norm is civil. And that's called civil society. And the healthier a society is, the more civil it is. So when you have civil societies and you're focusing always on militaristic qualities and characteristics, something's very seriously wrong. But when you're in an environment under siege, then that emphasis is very important. So the Muslims have to recognize emphasis. Like right now, the most important thing is education. Imam Ghazali didn't fight jihad. Even though during his lifetime, Palestine was under occupation. But he thought it's a waste of time to try to free Palestine if you've got a bunch of barbarians that are freeing it. Because they'll just end up killing all the Christians and it'll make Islam look bad. So his focus was on educating the Muslims. And that's why the school system that was laid out during his time produced Salahuddin al-Ayyubi. His generation was produced by Imam al-Ghazali, Sidi Abdul Qadir Jilani. There's no Salahuddin al-Ayyubi without that groundwork that was laid by these intellectual scholars who were re-educating the Ummah to the true principles of Islam. And there are many people who have criticized Imam al-Ghazali and said, why isn't there a Bab al-Jihad in his Ihya? Why didn't he write that back? The whole book, that's the whole point. That whole book, what predicates any type of martial endeavor, you have to have spiritual people. And that's why the Sahaba weren't allowed to fight for 14 and a half years. They weren't allowed to fight. It was all purification. They were being prepared because you don't want people that are vengeful and violent. You don't want those people fighting because they won't care about people. Even some of the ulama said the only reason that war was the only repository for slaves. All other forms of slavery were abolished in Islam. Before Islam, you were born a slave, you indentured servitude, if you got into debt, you became a slave. You could be just captured, kidnapped. There were a lot of different ways. Like now, they have all these types of slavery out there. But Islam only allowed slavery from war. That's the last. And some of them said the whole point was because when people are fighting and they think that they're going to be slaves, they don't want to kill the people. They actually want them to live. So it's actually a mercy for the people that you're fighting because, what a waste.